Welcome to Cambodia Business Week. Good morning, Cambodia, on this beautiful Saturday morning. Today we're going to interview Pascal Lee, who is the CEO? GM. Okay, we have to be careful these titles, right?
Yes.
GM of Uber. You've heard of Uber. I'm sure you've heard of Uber, which is now pretty new to Cambodia. How long is Uber in Cambodia?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning.
Thanks for welcoming me today. We've been live since the 28th September of 2017.
Okay, so Uber has entered the Cambodian market. It's now 5 months here. It takes time to get started a bit, right?
Definitely.
So now you're rolling, right?
We are rolling.
Okay, so we're going to talk about Uber today. What is Uber? I'm sorry you heard of Uber, but it's a very interesting concept, and we're going to talk about its structure, how it works, what it's doing in Cambodia. But before that, Pascal, why don't you just you've been a guest before, but tell us again a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So to give you a little bit of background, I'm a French-Cambodian citizen, born to my Cambodian parents. I've been mainly growing up in France, studying there, bred there, and I have my first kind of career experience back in France. I'm also very kind of colorful in the sense that I've been living in four countries: in Australia, in France, of course, in Singapore, and then in Cambodia now. And so it's been 3 years that I've been
Your
here.
wife is from Taiwan?
Yeah, and my wife's from Taiwan.
Right.
So I got a very kind of colorful background that makes me having a quite open mindset.
Okay, so where did you go to school? You said you went to school in Paris, right, France?
Yeah, I went to France. I was studying in France.
What did you study?
So I studied general management.
Okay.
So I got a master from the school named EDEC Business School back in France.
Okay. And then where did you start working, and what kind of work? Tell us a little bit about your career leading up to the big Uber job.
Yes, so I started my career back in France. I created my own company back in 2000. So it was 18 years ago already now.
You don't look that old.
Yeah, I know that's what I get usually all the time. But yeah, I have done a lot of things, and so I can summarize my career by saying that it's been half into the consulting world, and then half into senior management roles in big Fortune 500 companies, and that gives me a good blend in terms of the theory that we get from the consulting part, and also managing the business from a Fortune 500 part. And so then that is what kind of would say combined brought me to Uber.
Perfect for Uber. So
Yes.
I think we have the term that we call somebody like yourself a repatriate, not an expatriate, right?
Yes, that's right. I think so. Because I wasn't even born here. I was born in Thailand while my parents were running away from war. So I'm definitely coming, willing and wanting to be coming into Cambodia.
So does it feel like effectively you're coming home, because it's a different bit of world, because you've been living all over the world and you actually weren't born here and you weren't living here.
Yes.
So what drew you back to Cambodia?
I think that because since very young I've been speaking Cambodian. My parents have been giving me a lot of cultural background in terms of how Cambodia is, telling me how the country was before wartime. So it just feel like I always had this connection with Cambodia. So it was, I would say, almost natural for me to be back here at one point.
Okay. So I'm sure it's great to have people come back, especially well-educated people with your type of experience. It's the country, usually it's the other way around. People are going out.
I know.
So it's great to have you back, and that brought you back to Cambodia because of your desire for the culture and coming home, sort of.
Yeah, and I think also because throughout my career I've been helping growing companies, and I was thinking that what is common in all those companies is people, and so I wanted to be able to contribute at my own level in terms of helping people who will be working with me, in terms of sharing my knowledge and sharing also the experience that I have seen from Cambodians overseas, and tell them that Cambodia can do great things and that they can believe in themselves in doing amazing things.
How long you been here now?
It's gonna be almost 3 years.
Okay,
So time flies.
So you've been here during the boom period, let's say.
I guess so. I think that I really came at the right time, because the first time was in 2009. That was during the financial crisis. I've seen a lot of things booming, and I was like, yeah, I need to be here within the next five years, and so I arrived in 2015. So that was just the right timing.
Yeah, it's really booming since 2015. The economy just keeps going and going. What made you take the job at Uber? I mean, a world-class name.
Yeah, but
some incredibly. It's going through some. It's evolving, right? So when you're evolving, a company like this is changing the model. So
Yes.
it's got challenges to change the model, but it's also very exciting, I imagine.
Definitely. A very fun fact I would say that I got also from LinkedIn. It's that Uber is being the number 4 most admired company where people want to join worldwide. So that gives already like
That's
some
surprising.
perspective. Yeah.
So it's no longer banks or brokers or
Yeah,
insurance
no,
companies.
no,
It's
yeah.
things like Uber.
Tech companies. And so I think that from my career have been a lot into the tech space. So it was just natural for me to be so excited with the technology that the company is providing, and seeing what can be coming out from that technology and then be useful and can benefit then the people living in Cambodia.
Right. So you said something very interesting, because people think of Uber as a taxi service,
Yeah,
but it's not a taxi service.
it's
It's
not
a technology company.
yes.
Now,
it's
why is Uber not a taxi service? Well, it is effectively at the back end, but why is Uber a tech company?
It is a tech company because we do not own any taxi.
So Uber doesn't own any of its fleet.
No, we don't own. It's people, I would say, that own their cars, that instead of wanting to leave it idle, they have free time and they want to earn extra revenues, then they would decide to jump into our platform. Of course.
So the key word here, tech platform.
Yes, we are a tech platform, and so we are we are onboarding. Then so people are signing up to join our platform, to be able to then use the service that allows to match riders with the driver for them to move from a point A to a point B.
All right. So you said you're in sort of operation now for about 5 months.
Yes.
So how many drivers do you have that have signed up?
Yeah, I can say that it's growing. It
Right.
continues on growing. We're continuing on recruiting. So the numbers change every time.
Especially in
so
these early stages where you're getting it.
Definitely. So to our audience, I would also encourage anyone who wants to come and join to be joining us as a driver.
Okay. And this interests me because I'm getting an education on what Uber is, but so you're effectively these drivers like sort of contractors for you in a way.
Not really. They are what we call driver partners. So I think that is important again to stress that they are not employees of Uber. They are really like freelancers who are using our platform, and so they can join. They can come online whenever they want. They can work how long they want, and they can just take days off whenever they want, according to what is fitting their personal life.
So to some extent, they're their own business as well.
They are their own business owners, definitely, and so that's why technology here is enabling that to be happening. And then of course we got features on the app that makes things much more easier for people to get comfortable, and feel that it's been safe, reliable to be using our platform.
And going back to actually qualification of a driver, I think that's important to some people that when they're using, we'll talk about how to use the app shortly, but when they're getting a driver from Uber, they want to feel safe.
Yes.
They want to also know that person knows how to get from point A to B, which is easier these days. I remember when I lived in the UK, apparently every London taxi driver knew where everything was. And it's this qualification process that you had if you got in a cab in the UK, they know exactly where to take you.
Yes.
I mean that's how rigorous that was needed. But now, of course, we have technology, which is
Absolutely.
GPS, and tells you where to go. I'm sure GPS even talks to people and say turn right, turn left. So people want to know that they're getting somebody who's knowledgeable. Let's be honest, the tuk-tuk experience here would be yes, I know, and then they don't. A good percentage of the tuk-tuk drivers actually don't know, and that's okay. I mean, the city is growing and getting complicated, but the convenience of actually getting in a transport situation where you're asking somebody to go to point A to B, and somebody knowing where to go, driving safely, which is another issue, and also feeling safe. I mean, tuk-tuks are open air as well, and there's a lot of, obviously, phone grabbing and
yes.
Not tuk-tuks are fine. I take them all the time, but we'll talk about why Uber is a different model than, let's say, a tuk-tuk or a moto. But how do you go through this long question? How do you qualify drivers?
So, like you said, I think safety is something very important. It's something that we put as an utmost important feature. And when we do the onboarding of drivers, we do check that they got all the required documents, such as driving license, vehicle documents. We're also inspecting the vehicles to be sure that everything is correct.
How often do you inspect?
As soon as they come into our onboarding center. Then the team would do on the spot the inspection to ensure that everything is fine.
At least they get a free analysis of whether their vehicles have problems.
That's true. So I think
not that we want people to do that, right?
No, that's true. But we want to be sure that it's just matching what we're saying.
Right.
So we're also doing like a background checks to ensure that we've got the driver he's not in any funny situation. So because at the end of the day, what happens when you call a car, you get into it's a stranger from the driver, a stranger from the riders, right? So you don't know each other. You want to be sure that you're getting the best experience, that the drivers don't get afraid of, hey, is the rider coming in the right person or not, and the rider thinking, hey, is my driver a good one or not. So we are solving that problem upfront with the drivers. And also what we do is on our platform we got what we call star ratings. So we give feedbacks to it's both way. So it's on a 5-star level. So after you finish your ride, then drivers can give a feedback.
So you get a rating as a passenger.
Yes, you get a rating as a passenger.
And then if you're on that app, the driver will. So if somebody has a good rating, like a 5-star rating, people want that passenger more.
I would say that the system do the matching. Definitely, there's there's a system that we're putting in place in terms of ensuring that we keep a high quality platform that goes on both sides for riders and drivers, to keep all the good riders and drivers on the platform who has got the highest star, because we want to be sure that the experience is good. And so that is also a feature that I would say people do appreciate, because once that they click on the button to request for a ride, you get the name of the driver, you get the rating of the driver, the type of cars, the plate number, so you can see if the car coming is the right one before you jump on board into the car. So that and once that you're in the car, then as a rider you can share your itinerary to whoever you want, so people knows, all right, you're in the car, where you're going, so you can follow live in terms of where you are. So this is a good features like, hey, is the person really going to towards the direction where they need to be going?
So when people are saying they're on their way, they could prove it.
Yes, exactly, exactly. That could be.
How many
used for
times
that.
we say we're on our way, but we're really not on our way? So now you can say, "Are you taking Uber? Show me." All right, we'll be right back. This is getting more and more interesting. We're going to talk about the driver structure and the app. I mean, how it all works when we come back after this commercial break. We're back on Cambodia Business Week with the general manager of Uber, Pascal Lee, and we're having an incredibly interesting conversation, learning that Uber is a tech company that has a platform. And we were doing some chatting before we started, and you were saying that Airbnb is also a platform, and very similar in that it has the most hotel rooms or available.
Yeah. So what I was saying.
I like this analogy. I love it.
Yeah, sure. I was saying that we can find sometimes in publication on LinkedIn of doing comparisons saying that Airbnb is the biggest hotel provider, but they don't own any hotel rooms. That Facebook is the biggest content provider, but do not create any content by themselves. And then people are saying that Uber then is the biggest fleet, but we do not own any of those fleets. Yeah.
So that really shows it's a tech company, and it's really a platform.
I think so. Yeah, and also in addition to that, Uber being a global company, it started in San Fran in 2010.
Now, somebody came up with an idea for this, right?
Exactly. So the story was the founders were in Paris. They were trying to get a car, and it was very difficult for them to get any taxi, and they were just like thinking, hey, why couldn't we just get a taxi so simply just like by pressing a button? And so that's how the entire idea.
And what year was that, out of interest? What year was
2009?
So it's not that long ago.
Yeah, it's that long
ago.
So
these tech ideas are still like sort of in the 2009 range, where
Definitely.
a lot of the stuff like Amazon started in the early 90s.
Absolutely.
It's 20 years before.
Yeah.
So you could still have a tech idea.
Yes. So that's why I think that today our technology is really the world-class technology, because it's been like so many years of experience that have been accumulated, and also like the company has been present like in 600 cities worldwide, and Cambodia has been the 78th country where we are opening.
So we're number 78. You've had a lot of experience.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I think that, back to the question where you were saying why I joined as a GM for Uber, it's the fact that we're able to bring a very global, I would say, footprint company to the country, and being able to adjust to the local needs. So this is really something that is exciting, because we are combining then the technology coming in to the country and ensuring that we are making it work locally, which is one of the cultural norms that we've got also in our company.
Okay, so I'm very interested in how it actually works. I realize it is a tech company, so it works by app.
Yep.
So can you explain?
Sure. So the process is very simple. You need of course a smartphone. Then it can be on Android or an iOS.
Is it only phone, or can you do it on tablets and computers as well?
No, it's only on phone.
It's only on phone.
Yep. So on iOS or on
That's
Android.
Global.
Yep, that's global.
Okay.
So you download the apps. Once you download the apps, then you just need to put your phone number. You will get an SMS verification to be sure that it's matching, and then you just like start by pressing like where you want to go, and then you just put request. And then you will have then the car that is matched to you.
And is there any preference? Like I want a Rolls Royce, or I want to.
Yeah, sure. I think that there's in different countries, different markets, different needs, different types of transportation. So definitely there are different types of I would say categories that you could use. For now in Cambodia, we've got one category that is focused on cars, and then once that you select that, then it gives you the estimate time for arrival of the car, and then you just need to wait. So it's also like back to what we're saying about safety. Before you would go on the street, try to hail a tuk-tuk. So by now you can stay inside your office on your house, request for the car. You know how long it's gonna be coming, and then you get ready. Then you go down.
Does it tell you how the car's arrived, or
yeah, it does. You get
where the car's
notification.
coming? And
Yes, you get notification saying, all right, your car is on its way. Here's the numbers of minutes you still need to wait, and then when your cars have arrived, you get another notification saying your car is here.
all right, so then you get in the car and you basically say, I want to go to Rosewood Hotel as an example,
Sure.
and have the beautiful view and have a nice drink.
Yes.
So is it GPS then for the driver to know where you're going?
Exactly. So you don't even need to tell where you're going. When you get into the car, you just need to ensure that you got into the right car, just by like checking like I said before you get in, check the plate numbers, get into the car, and then usually the drivers, they get your name. So when I get into the car, the driver will ask me, "Are you Pascal?" I'm like,
Right.
"Yes." And so at least I know also as a rider that I got into the right car, and then he will sometimes reconfirm with me saying that where do you want to go. Then I would say, yep, that's correct, and then he would just
does he use GPS
yes
together?
yes
Okay.
and then he would just follow the road and just get me to my destination. And then I got two choices of payment: either I pay by cash or either I pay through my credit card. And then for me, I'm mainly using credit card, so the experience is quite seamless, because as soon as I arrive, I can just say, all right, thank you very much for the trip. I just go down, and then after that, give the feedback in terms of rating, and then the transaction
Do
is
you
done.
also see, it's cash or credit card, do you see other payment methods coming on in other countries? I don't know. There's all now about payment apps. So.
Yeah, I know. So, like in Vietnam, there's a partnership that have been done with an e-wallet in Vietnam. So I think that definitely this is according to the different market, different needs. It's a trend that is happening in terms of going towards more like digital payments.
Okay, great. All right, so then there's payment, right? And then from those that are interested in being drivers, how does it work from there?
So it's very simple in the sense that when a riders get into a ride, they get the pricing is shown, so that
Ahead of time. So you know what it costs.
You know how much it costs. So that is also like making you feel like the transparency in terms of you don't need to bargain, you don't need to negotiate. The system is in charge of everything, and then the drivers they collect the full payment from the riders, and then the drivers our partner drivers are then paying to us a service fee to be using our platform, which is then matching the riders and drivers together.
Because it's a tech platform. So
it's a tech platform.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Okay. What's obviously interesting is how the transportation game is changing. It's almost like how the telecom game was changing in the late 90s, and
Yes.
So now, even I sort of go. I just was in Indonesia, I guess, about 6 months ago, and I saw these Grab helmets everywhere. I had no idea what Grab is, and now I'm seeing Grab helmets and jackets here. So Grab is a little different than you guys, and Pass App is obviously a little different than you guys. Can you sort of explain?
Yeah.
Now, to get you a little bit into educating us more than talking about Uber in this case, is how is this transport model changing in Phnom Penh, where you have Pass App, you have Grab, you have Book Me Bus, you have all these different types of platforms that are asking us to book with them.
Sure. I think that one thing that I need to emphasize here is that what we're trying to compete against is the idea of car ownership, of transportation ownership as a whole. So
this is a great concept, though. I mean, I'm wondering if it really is working in the U.S. Are we seeing less car ownership because of these new transport models?
Then when you need to move from your point A to point B, usually it's a little bit longer than what you can have in Phnom Penh.
But pretty cheaper. In public transportation is generally pretty cheap.
Yes. So
The farther you go, the cheaper it actually is.
Yes,
But yeah.
but I think the point here is really like giving you the seamless experience in terms of moving, really like from your point of destination to your point of arrival, and just ensuring that you get there. I think that like we were saying, like in terms of reducing the car ownership is then at the same time solving cities problems, and city problems are related to traffic congestions, trying to find a place to park your car. So when you are able to be transported in that way, then what happens is that you don't have any more to worry about that. The time that you're spending in the car can be used to do other things also. So this is the kind of I would say experience that is totally changing for the people.
Okay, so again, and just for out of interest, because we do, as we said, have all these platforms.
Yes.
What is how do you fit in this transport model with the likes of Grab and
Yep.
Book Me Bus and Pascal?
Sure. So to come back to your question, I think that based on what I was saying initially, I think that there's a lot of different choices that is being made available to
You have
to
the brand
users.
though that people recognize globally.
Definitely. So that is, and the technology.
Right.
So like I was telling you, and also the fact that we've got a local team of Cambodians who really knows Cambodia and being able to provide the best user experience for both riders and drivers. I think that at the end of the day, that is also what is the most important. So we do fit in the picture as all others, and then I would say that if I refocus on what we do is to ensure that we are doing things right for our customers.
What's interesting is I guess when you think about Phnom Penh 8 or 9 years ago, people were sort of running their own private taxi businesses. And I remember going on the riverfront, and people would just put a sign on top that said taxi.
Oh yeah.
Very handwritten. Not really a taxi, but they wanted to be part of a taxi, and they had to get business by just passerbys. But what you're offering is, and if you look at moto drivers as well, you're sort of offering them to come into a brand, and be more accessible through this platform, rather than like moto drivers just waiting, or taxi drivers just waiting for somebody to pass and say I tuk or whatever.
Yes,
right? They've actually got the technology now where they actually could get more business, and they actually could have a business, and they could be very accessible by doing this. Is there any point where you meet sort of you make sort of a critical mass where there's just the right number of drivers, or is it become sort of
I would say that the dynamic change all the time, and that what is also making this job challenging and exciting at the same time, because I'm kind of following the pulse of the city, and just ensuring that I'm adjusting to it so that it benefits everyone.
It's interesting to me because obviously people that are international know Uber. You go to any city, you have the app. I mean, the app applies to every city that you guys are in, right? So
where we are in, yes, exactly.
Right. So if I download it here in Cambodia and I go on a trip to Jakarta,
yes,
I can easily use Uber at the airport. The
Definitely.
same app, right?
Yes. So I think that is also like the very strong competitive advantage that we're giving here is that, as some also facts, in the last 3 months, we have noticed that we have like 70 different nationalities of people who came to Cambodia who have been using our app. So they have downloaded and used it in their own country. When they are coming here, there's some kind of expectations of Uber should be present there. So automatically they would just open the app, and then they would do exactly the same way as they do in their home country. And when the trip is finished, then it's being charged to their credit card as it would have been done in their own country. So the experience is really seamless.
Right. So you can use the app anywhere where you are. It could be non-cash because it could be by credit card. So
Yep.
it's like, again, McDonald's, standardization,
Yes.
right? And just out of curiosity, is the airport sort of the most requested destination from and to?
I would say it's the first entry point, definitely. Like when you arrive in the country, so people would be like looking for the best way to be moving to their final destination. So definitely we are looking into how we can provide this first right impression, so that people have the right experience when they're coming to Cambodia.
So let's talk about some of the challenges. One of the things I would guess when anybody enters Cambodia that's a global brand, I think some of these global brands just assume, well, I am, this global brand, and I'm coming here, and everybody will know who we are, and we'll just get a right pickup, and everybody will start using us, right? So, so to tell you how long I've been out of the country, in the U.S., I've been out of the country 27 years.
Wow.
And when I heard of Carl's Jr., for instance, was coming,
Yes.
and some younger Americans that I knew, much younger, said, "Oh, Carl's Jr. is coming here," and I said, "What's
that?
Carl's Jr.?"
At least you said, "What's Carl?" You didn't say, "Who's Carl?"
No, but I mean, great franchise,
Yep.
wonderful burgers for sure. But it just shows that if you really aren't in that countries where these things are being introduced, and you may be a Cambodian that doesn't travel or doesn't come across some of these global brands, and are you getting like, what is Uber? Or are you getting Uber's coming?
Yes.
What's sort of the reaction you're getting?
So far, I think that people have heard about the brand. So I think that the brand recognition is quite strong.
Is it mostly younger people, obviously?
No, not necessarily. So like among the drivers community, so like the taxi drivers, they know the brand. They know who we are. So this is really like showing that the resonance of the brand is very positive, and I would say that here in Cambodia it's even like much more, I would say, better, in the sense that we have been working with also the regulators, with the government before launching.
This is the Ministry of Transport.
Yes, with the Ministry of Work and Public Work and Transport, and we were able to engage with them, explain them how it can benefit to the city, and so it's very good that we've got the support of the government.
You definitely see the government embracing modernization.
Yes.
And that's great, because I think most of the new technology that wants to enter Cambodia is, I think there's a little, and most markets, for instance, are a little bit reluctant on this crypto stuff, which for good reason. But I mean, most of the other technologies that are entering the market, certainly that making life easier for people, the government seems to be really embracing that, which is great.
It's great because transportation is necessary in any cities. So the earlier we tackle the problem and make it run smoothly, the better it is to benefit the city.
Let's talk about, and I think you've said it through most of the interview, but I'll give you sort of like, let me highlight the 4 or 5 points. What is the competitive advantage of Uber?
So, worldwide organization that is able to provide you a global technology in terms of the smoothness of using our app, being able also to build locally. So we have all the different types of Cambodian team in place, knowing the city, knowing how to address the different needs in the city, and also the fact that we got a safety features that I was explaining you, that is really making taking transportation much more easier than ever before. Okay.
And we talk about the app, but we don't really. So is it Google getting it through the Google Store, or what's the easiest way to get your app?
Yeah, so on Android you would get it from Google Store, Google Play, and then from iOS you would download from the App Store. As simple as that.
It's as simple as that. Okay, and what are the future plans? I mean, you've just come, so it's a little bit of you're rolling out, I guess, the standard model that you use globally. But
yes,
what are the future plans for Uber?
Very simple. Here, I would say that looking into the basics in terms of metrics to ensure that the user experience that we're giving to the riders and the drivers is the right one. That is the very most, I would say, basic thing that I need to ensure constantly making it happen. And then after that, it's things that would be the most relevant for the cities, for the countries, that I'm always looking with the team. and
Is it going to roll out in Battambang and Siem Reap? I mean, it's in Phnom Penh now, obviously.
it's in Phnom Penh now. There's nothing to announce in any other places for now, because we are all looking into what is the best way to serve
So
the
you're only
the
5
market.
months in, so you got
Yes, so that's why I was saying the basic metrics first, ensuring the customer experience is there. I think what I like to say or like to emphasize again is that we are present in 8 countries in ASEAN, so entire ASEAN countries is being covered. So it's kind of very specific to each country to see what is the right thing to happen in their country. So for me, I'm definitely like focused on Cambodia for Cambodians.
So we'll give you the last question, which I think is asking you to look into the crystal ball a bit. If you looked at the transport model here 10 years ago, 8 years ago, it was basically tuk-tuks and motos, and we've seen from then, probably about 5 years ago, entries of taxi companies. Which, I tell you what, I still really find it really hard to get a taxi on the street. I'm from New York, so you just used to wave, and say. So I'm not really sure how to get a taxi here, but I see them. And then we saw buses, public transportation.
Yep.
And recently, I guess over the last year and a half or so, this PASAP came in with these rickshaws and so forth. And we've seen platforms where we hadn't seen platforms before. Now you're here, and we know that being a global brand, usually those global brands make pretty deep market penetration pretty quick. So we have so many different forms of transport now. That is, let's call it third-party transport.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And how is this all going to change? I mean, what do you think is going to happen here? We saw taxis in Bangkok, for instance, started flooding like crazy, but there's still tuk-tuk drivers in Bangkok, but there's very little, actually. It's changed a lot with, so many taxis, it's easy to take. You have the SkyTrain, you have public transport. Where I remember when I was in Bangkok 15 years ago, it was tuk-tuks. People taking tuk-tuks, but they're kind of disappearing. Mm-hmm. So how do you think it's going to change?
So what I know is that so the Minister of Public Work and Transport have shared during a forum like 2 weeks ago that they're looking into launching a water taxis also on a journey first to go to the water taxi, then you can take your water taxi to your destination on the other side, then you get an Uber again to get to your final destination. So this is like the entire journey. I think that also in Cambodia being a evolving country, infrastructure being developed further. So I think that the Ministry of Public Work and Transport have got very good ideas and plans on how to further, I would say, improve all the infrastructure, and then by improving the infrastructure, automatically you will have much more ways of transportation that is coming in. But like you're asking me, like what happens in the coming years? It could be like so many things, because we know that in the US, the company is working on, self-driving cars, flying cars. So who knows?
Flying cars, wow.
Yeah. So who knows what is going to be coming into Cambodia?
Well, thank you, Pascal. If you haven't tried Uber, you should download the application. Go to Google Store, Google Play. Yep. And it's a fantastic experience. It makes life easy. Go on the app, say I want to go point A to point B. Your driver knows where they're going. It's safe, secure, and economical. So give it a try. So thanks for being on Cambodia Business Week.
Thank you very much for having me.
Come back soon again and tell us how it does.
With pleasure. Thank you very much.
Have a good week, everybody.
Have a good weekend, everyone.